Our next speaker, Bruce Thomas, is a meteorologist who has some broadcast experience, but he's also the spokesperson for Midland Radio. And so Bruce is here to talk to us for about 15 minutes on the importance of having a NOAA weather radio. So let's take a little video, look at a video about Bruce, and then he'll start off with his presentation. And I do want to just mention one other time at 1:30 Mountain Time this afternoon to 2 o'clock, 1:30 to 2 o'clock, online viewers can come back and see a live stream and ask questions of Dr. Greg Forbes from the Weather Channel, of Bruce Thomas, and also Dan Leonard, who will be speaking after the break on long-range forecasting. So let's take a look at a little video about Bruce Thomas.
Tornadoes, floods, severe thunderstorms, and blizzards can be life-threatening. And yet with advanced warning, tragedy can be avoided. An All Hazards radio gives you that warning 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's not just for severe weather. The All Hazards radio broadcasts warnings for all types of hazards, including chemical spills, Amber Alerts, and 911 telephone outages. Don't risk your family's safety. Purchase an All Hazards radio today.
First thing is people have to get the message, and the next thing is they have to have a family plan of action, and that action is what saves lives. I did want to point one thing out on this graphic. Many of you are in the audience are friends, and you notice there's a new logo in the corner of the screen, and Betsy Kling spent a year working on this new logo for the 4 years for the National Weather Association, and this is being unveiled this month in January across the United States. This is the new face of the National Weather Association. You'll see this on all of our swag and all of our shirts, and just wanted to show it. I think this is the first time. Is this the first time it's been shown, Betsy? So I just wanted to give her a shout out and thank her for everything she's done to make that happen, and I wanted to include that in the talk this morning. Moving forward, weather radio, it's boring, okay? It's an automated voice, but it's decades of proven reliability. It started in the mid-'70s after the super outbreak. This is when the National Weather Service started expanding the transmitter network across the country. Originally started in the 50s as a way of getting weather information to the cockpits of planes landing in Chicago and New York, and also for maritime uses out on the Great Lakes. And after the super outbreak of 1974, weather radio expanded across the country to some interesting numbers I hope to show you here in just a moment. Again, it's 24 hours a day. The information is free. There's no data or subscription, and it is county specific. And with some changes, one day it'll even be maybe polygonal specific, and we're working towards that. I just wanted to show this map because this is just, you know, for many of us unbelievable. This is the first 7 months of 2011 in America, and these tracks, as you can see, across the Deep South and also across the Midwest, showing the tragedy that occurred across America this spring. And these tornadoes claimed a tremendous amount of lives, and we know that a lot of people did receive these warnings on NOAA Weather Radio. We had been actively promoting for the last 7 years the use of NOAA Weather Radio through our local media affiliates, through our friends at the Weather Channel and CNN, telling people to have weather radios and have them in their home as part of their family's plan of action, so they got the warnings. The next thing is you've got to have a safe place to go. The further south you go in America, the less amount of basements you'll find in homes, more slab construction. And as we found out, an F3, F4, F5 tornado and a slab construction equals sometimes very bad outcomes. So I wanted to mention, again, there are a lot of people that had weather radios. We heard in Alabama at the seminar they did at the National Weather Association meeting in October that 41% of Alabamians received their initial tornado warning on NOAA weather radio. That is a tremendously high number, and that's because of a lot of the efforts from the media and also from the government to get more into homes. Again, Doppler radar, you don't really know if it's day or night. This is what you're looking at. You're looking at a signature. Gate-to-gate shear on the left, your reflectivity on the right. But having a NOAA weather radio in the middle of the night can wake you up. And it's still the only device that will wake you up in the middle of the night. That's the message we have to continue to hammer home. This thing is not sexy. It's a smoke detector for storms. Costs $30. Every home needs one. It's not a smartphone. Smartphones cost $500, $600, $700. I know when you sign a contract it may be $100 or $200, but you end up paying for it for 2 more years, and your data fee is $60 to $100 a month. There are a lot of Americans that will not be able to afford that. So having a smart device is a great secondary layer. Many of us in this room all carry these devices, really enjoy the apps. But a primary warning device is a NOAA weather radio. This is a nighttime tornado event that happened in Copiah County, Mississippi. There was a municipal judge there, Vicki Ramsey, and she gave us a great testimonial about how a weather radio that she had bought at Walgreens woke her up in the middle of the night. She had seen a meteorologist speaking on television on the NBC affiliate in Jackson, Mississippi, and Barbie Bassett's her name, and she had told her viewers to get weather radios. Vicki had told her husband, go down to Walgreens and pick one up. They were programming them that day, the TV station. They took it home, it woke them up. They had some significant damage at their home, but they knew, they got in the closet, they survived. What was interesting is on that exact same farm they have in Copiah County, they had an F4 tornado a decade before that had destroyed it. So as we know, bad weather seems to follow similar paths throughout the decades. Now, as we know, the most deadly places to be during tornadoes, mobile homes. Now, this does not include the information from this outbreak this year, but this goes through 2005. Again, 44% of the fatalities from tornadoes occur in mobile homes, about 25% in permanent built homes, and then about 10% in vehicles. So we know that that can be an issue, especially in an urban environment where people get caught in traffic and in nighttime events, people being blown off the highway. So why is this important? Well, this was a tragic event that happened in Evansville, Alabama. This happened in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, in November of 2005. And this 2-year-old handsome young man in here is named CJ. And his mom and his whole family lived in a mobile home in this trailer park, mobile home park in near Evansville. If they would have had a NOAA weather radio, they would have known about 10 minutes before the tornado hit their mobile home park and given them at least the ability to get out and take cover. Hopefully, you know, more and more people will have these devices, especially in mobile homes. So what I want to point out here, and how many of you have heard of CJ's bill or CJ's law? Less than half of the people in the room. This is law in Indiana. This mother took her grief. She was a 26-year-old mother with 4 kids living in a mobile home, and she took her grief and channeled it towards making legislation in Indiana. Every mobile manufactured home delivered in that state has to have an operating NOAA weather radio when it's delivered. They've tried to pass this law nationally. It's made it through the U.S. House twice to be killed in the U.S. Senate. The manufactured home lobby does not want this to pass. I don't know why, but they think that it would hurt their sales. That's right. Right.
It's the inference that you're admitting. You're basically admitting you're going to die if the tornado comes.
So what I ask and implore all of you to do is watch and see this bill as it comes back up in the U.S. House and Senate. Because of what's happened in 2011, this may actually get pushed along If it gets through the Senate, I believe the President will sign it into law. It would be a great thing for preparedness in America for this to happen, and we'll see what does happen. Again, 98% of Americans are covered under a NOAA weather radio transmitter now. There's over 1,000 transmitters, including Puerto Rico, even out in American Samoa for tsunamis. And I will tell you, since the tsunami in American Samoa, every village, home, and every business, every building in Samoa now has a SAME NOAA weather radio to give them the message in case of another tsunami heading that way. So that is progress occurring. All U.S. protectorates have transmitters. Hawaii, most of the population centers of Alaska. And again, west of the Rockies, there are some spots in the Intermountain West. But I was interesting to see they just put up a transmitter here in Dillon. And you can actually get information here in the mountains now. So this is good stuff for everybody to have. I don't know if they want to get a shot of that, but the information, even up here in the mountains now with the central mountains of Colorado and the forecast available on NOAA Weather Radio, and that's some progress that's been made over the last couple of years. Again, how many transmitters are out there? There's, again, over 1,000 now. The 1,000th transmitter was put in Alaska about 3 years ago, and continues to be modified and expanded. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you is how these networks actually expand out from a Weather Service forecast office, like in Jackson, Mississippi, and how these little geometric shapes actually just specify the different frequencies. There's not a whole lot of science involved in that, except you see the numbers off to the right. Some say 1,000, some say 400, some say 500. That's the amount of wattage coming out of the transmitter. The higher the wattage, the more penetration into homes and businesses and even underground shelters or into safe rooms. So the higher wattage transmitters give you better coverage. And it's many of the transmitters are 500 to 1,000 watts across the country. These transmitters, very active. Some of the most active NOAA weather radio transmitters in America are Cape Girardeau and the Paducah area, Memphis, Tennessee, and Jackson, Mississippi. Those 3 Weather Service offices tone out the weather radio more than any other offices in America. People that live there may or may not like that, but they do feel more secure knowing they have this. They also have a lot of tremendous weather in those regions. Jennifer Ruckavina is in the audience. She's helped us for many years get more weather radios into homes in her viewing area, and it's been a really nice partnership between the retailers. Now, this is a console replacement system. They used to have like 8-track tapes is how it really was done. In the 70s through the late 90s, they would record 8-track tapes and put those on a wheel and basically record, would pop on every 5 minutes, and that's how NOAA weather radio was done with a human voice. They built this system so they could start using the automated voice and get rid of the 8-track or cart recording devices. And this is the console replacement system that all the 122 National Weather Service offices received in 1999. It would hold up to 13 different transmitters and allow them to operate these throughout a weather forecast office. Again, these transmitters, this is from the Des Moines office covering parts of Iowa, if you notice some of the abbreviations there. But there's something new coming, and it's called the RIP program, Weather Radio Improvement Program. I was just at Southern Region, this Central Region office in Kansas City on Friday, and they are now installing these new server-type devices, and all of weather radio is going to be central casted out of Silver Spring, Maryland, and also in a backup location in Virginia called the Weather Mountain. All weather radio will flow from the offices via text or through text, digitally to this office, then be uplinked with the help of Harris satellite, now down to the transmitters, and then converted from digital to analog for voice to go out over NOAA weather radio. What this will do will allow them to push all weather radio transmitters out over the internet. So that'll be available on the internet. Now this is going to take about 18 months to implement. The first device is being beta tested right now at the Central Region office in Kansas City, and it's something that's going to happen pretty quickly. And again, it's instant notification, very low cost to the states and municipalities, and you have to think about it as an indoor warning device, an indoor tornado siren. There's something called HAS Collect that's been kind of on the back burner now for about 6 years. And this allows the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA to use all the NOAA weather radio frequencies in a national emergency. And when this new server device is put in, the President of the United States will be able to talk to everybody on the weather radio nationwide at one time. And that is being implemented. That's part of this process. If we ever have another 9/11 type event, would give us the ability to reach everybody at one time. And this is something that's been, the software's done, but it's been slow to be implemented across the country, but it's still out there. And I wanted to give a shout out to our friends from Canada in the audience. 90% of Canadians are covered under NOAA Weather Radio now. And if you notice the way it's spelled, Weather Radio, all one word, that's how they refer to it. They have over 200 transmitters covering 90% of the population, and they are actively increasing those numbers of transmitters. And it's the exact same frequencies, and the same weather radio that works in the United States works in Canada, Puerto Rico, and all the U.S. protectorates. All on the same frequencies using the same or similar SAME codes. Again, every home, school, business in America should have one, and that's the reason I was able to talk my boss into let me bring 30 weather radios I hear today. On this break we're about to take, I have weather radios for the speakers, the attendees, and the support staff running the cameras, because everyone should have one in their home. And when I leave today, I hope all of you will. I really do appreciate the fact that you all let me come in here and speak for a few minutes. I know we've learned a lot this morning. I would welcome any questions you have. I will tell you this Weather Radio Improvement Program is going to help move weather radio on forward. We are currently working on some pilot programs in Huntsville, Alabama. The Director of the National Weather Service now has authorized a test project to warn on the polygon level with NOAA Weather Radio. And it's going to take a smart device, and it's not going to be cheap. It won't be $30 because it'll have to have a GPS antenna. But there's also one other thing in a weather radio that's never been exploited properly, and that's the use of the first digit on the SAME code, which will allow you to divide every county into ninths. And probably we'll see that implemented before the GPS weather radio, which may be 2 or 3 years away. So there are none available. The technology has not been developed, but it is now in the process of being developed in Huntsville, Alabama.